YouTubers, Mike Martins here with the Mike Martins channel. Well, lots going on, lots of emails, lots of messages. Thank you guys. I've been kind of scrambling together some articles here that can make sense. First thing we need to keep in mind first before we go forward is that Israel is the only country or the only state or the only location in the Middle East that has nuclear armament, nuclear weapons. Now, also, before going forward, let's also discuss the election mishaps that has been happening in Israel this past election and the previous, but this one has been pretty bad. They've been jailing and arresting people from opposite parties and labeling them and putting them in prison that run against the chosen power of Israel, right? So it's going to be very interesting where things are going to head from here going forward. So keep that stuff in mind going forward. Could this be like this whole thing going on with, is the dying regime power in Israel falling or faltering, so they need to get something off the ground so they don't get removed from power? Or is there something happening, or they're trying to create some sort of a smoke show so people don't know what's happening politically in Israel with their last election? Look up what's happening. You got to dive deep to find this kind of stuff. So here it is, guys. So CNN's reporting 65 killed in Gaza, 7 killed in Israel as UN warns conflict could turn into full-scale war. That's major, and everyone's reporting that. So Palestinians showed no signs of letting up on Wednesday, that's today, as continued Israeli airstrikes and Hamas or rocket fire prompted the United Nations to warn conflict could mushroom into full-scale war. Now, we got to look at the chessboard and see where the pieces are sitting, right? And right here, Al-Sharad high-rise building in Gaza collapses. There it is right there. That's in the Gaza Strip. I don't know how many people are housed there after Israeli missile strike. I'm not sure how many people that holds up last 24 hours. So there's going to be a lot of issues. Look at that mosque right there. Look at the damage on that building there. Yeah, I don't want to get into talking about Building 7, because if that was Building 7 right there, that would have fell from the debris from that. But we're not going to get into that, right? IDF fight until there's complete silence before any truce is possible, says Israeli Defense Minister. Wow. Okay, let's keep moving forward. Netanyahu, allying himself with far-right settler extremists, has sparked violence in Jerusalem and high-risk all-out chaos. So there it is, a photo of him right there. And the Israeli Prime Minister, decision to side with extremist settlers for political gain, along with attacks on Palestinian worshippers, have led to a possible war in Gaza, civil war inside Israel itself. So Israel is falling apart at the seams itself, again, from this last election, and the Prime Minister is siding with settlers. So you kind of see the divide that's growing in a small country like Israel, right? The events that had transpired Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount's compound last Friday. Remember Temple Mount for end-of-world prophecies and stuff? Remember the Temple Mount, right? What's going to happen, what is supposed to happen at the Temple Mount to usher in the end of times. Remember that? Okay. And triggered an explosion of violence that had been close to a boiling point since the beginning of Ramadan. So let's keep moving on here. Swedish pop star Zara Larsson labeled as anti-Semite after calling an apartheid Israel to stop killing Palestinian civilians. So what is anti-Semite? I don't even know what that means, but this one right here, anti-Semite. Well, let's look it up. Anti-Semite.
Anti-Semite. Anti-Semite.
A person who is hostile or prejudiced against Jewish people. So there it is right there. So I don't think she's against Jewish people. I think she's just asking to stop killing civilians. I don't really think she's anti-Semite. Okay, Israel rains down bombs on Gaza. Resistance responds with 1,000+ rockets. So there it is there, Israeli raining down bombs. Palestinian resistance group have fired a barrage of rockets in Israeli-occupied cities in response to the regime's continued bombardments of civilian targets in the Gaza Strip as the death toll from the latest flare-up rises on both sides. So there it is. You can probably hear all the air raids in Tel Aviv 24/7, eh? Israeli intelligence sends threatening text to Palestinians, says report. So it goes on to say that a report saying Israeli intelligence has sent a threatening text message to scores of Palestinians warning them against taking part in anti-Israel protests. So you can't protest against what's happening to your people. They basically, look, a luchador. They actually don't want you part of anything, and they want to remember how Covey got sparked. Remember Covey? Covey came at a miraculously perfect timing. Miraculously perfect timing. We had riots in France for 50, 60 weeks. We had riots in Hong Kong, 50, 60 weeks. We had big riots. We're talking about destruction and all that. We had riots in Lebanon. We had riots in Russia. We had riots all over and protests all over South America. And protests were flaring up in Canada, United States. It was protest city everywhere. But then, conveniently, Covey shows up and mysteriously shuts everything down, and now they're going to do border closures and all kinds of stuff. We'll talk about more of that on Mike in the Night. Okay, so let's keep rolling out the carpet here. So there's news headlines. 21 more Gazans have lost their lives as Israel intensifies its aerial strikes on the besieged Palestinian coastal strip. The Israeli military says it has pounded 500 targets in Gaza. 500. Health Ministry says 56 Palestinians, including 14 children and 5 women, have been killed since Monday. Wow. And what else? And CNN, we're going over breaking news here. And it's just right here. This is the one I want to see. Biden speaks with Netanyahu as Israeli and Palestinian violence pulls U.S. focus back on the Middle East. So this is what's happening right here. And this is a major, major issue. Could this be the prelude to the final war? They did mention the Temple of the Mount. They did mention a few little tidbits of information if you actually kind of could tie the dots together, especially if you are a Catholic and ushering in the book of Revelation. It started ushering in the this is what end of world followers are looking at and kind of connecting the dots, right? I want to know what you guys think about this situation. This is major. I want to thank everybody. The last 120 emails on this situation and what my point of view is. My point of view is very simple. 1, Israel's the only country in the Middle East that has nuclear weapons. 2, they need to create some sort of disturbance because of the last election and what's happened in the last election and the previous one before that too in Israel. So democracy is not real. You can see it full force, it just doesn't exist. It's only if it's focused on the narrative. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Nobody wants to see war like this. Nobody wants to see, if these people want to fight, they should go into boardrooms, and these leaders should go into boardrooms and let them fight it out. And leave the civilians, leave the day-to-dayers alone, leave the Joe Donuts alone. They're already getting destroyed by the local banking systems. They're already getting destroyed, by taxation and all kinds of other crap and housing affordability and the price of food. Just you guys go fight and duke it out in a boardroom somewhere and see who wins. Comment below. Lots of love. Mike Martin's here. I've spoken.